There was a particularly loud cheer for the wheelchair athletes, who often struggle on uneven or sloping ground. Kelvin Pangiso swiftly moved into the lead. Very often, a half marathon does not develop into a cat-and-mouse affair of waiting patiently for a chance to break away, as so often happens in a long race like a marathon. Here, the name of the game was speed, and taking chances early on is often the secret to success. For Alan Brunston and Peter Limburus, though, it was all about the experience, with speed not too important. Fun and games was the order of the day for some guys, while Renee Cunningham was just trying to stay in the top 5 ladies in the half-marathon race. Now in 4th place, a young-looking Silukushle Sogawana was running under 5 minutes per kilometre. The African Sun Kingdom Hotel Waterpoint was no doubt helping barefooted Rudo Mukombi along in 3rd spot. By now, the leader in the marathon was out into the game reserve area under the watchful eye of a local ranger. Kosiyasi Sabanda was powering ahead, while some way back, Rabia Filimo was leading the women's race, and still with the top 2 men in the Zambezi Man Challenge competition close by. Monica Kativu was not far back in 2nd spot. In 3rd place, and looking a little weary, was Ruth Nemachena. The Zambezi Man competitors were wearing the yellow bibs, while Annika Thompson of Zimbabwe was now in 4th place in the ladies' race. Everyone was smiling back in Vic Falls town. The reason? It was time for the GoToVicFalls.com 5-kilometre fun run to start. This was no great test of stamina or speed, just a chance for everyone to get out there and have a good time, while the serious runners toiled in the longer races.
I'm representing the kingdom, representing African Sun. So far so good. Loving it.
In the marathon, meanwhile, Sabanda had reached the Victoria Falls Safari Lodge, where the welcome was more than generous. The whole lodge turned out to cheer the runners and help them on their way.
Fantastic morning at Vic Falls Safari Lodge. As you can see at our water point here, we've just had the first runners come through. At the other end of the complex, we've got our shower at Lokotula, which they all take a few seconds to enjoy. Fantastic morning.
Some way back, Rabia Falima had reached the Econet water point, still in front. Her lead over Monica Kativu was shrinking though, and she was likely to be challenged for the top position, as it was still early in the race and there was plenty of time left. Ruth Nemachena was still in 3rd spot and looking a little parched in the warm conditions. Jane Fasaki and Susan Johnson, on the other hand, would be quite happy just to break 5 hours.
The Go to Vic Falls campaign, we're 3 years old now, and effectively it was a group of operators all based in Victoria Falls that decided to get together and collectively market the destination to make sure that we get maximum support on the Zimbabwean side of the Victoria Falls. Go to Vic Falls' involvement with the Fun Run is part of our branding. It was obvious that we wanted to get involved in that because it involves all the families and everybody that lives in Victoria Falls, and as per the turnout today, there's been a number of people that have gotten involved from all different walks of life.
And these people, many of them youngsters, were enjoying the fun and excitement of running close to some of the established stars of Zimbabwean road running.
How was that, girls? Tiring?
And how's this for strength? The Wild Horizons guys were showing just what they could do out there.
Ah, fantastic. We're loving it.
While the festivity level increased at the finish, the fatigue level was on the rise out on the road. The top men were now in the Chinatimber loop on the outskirts of town. The chasing pack was surprisingly still together and working hard to keep the pace going. It was still 6 strong, but had not managed to bring in the long-time race leader, Nkosiyanda Sabanda, who had been running alone for more than an hour. Now he was almost out of sight of the chasing group. It was a mighty battle for the wheelchair athletes to make progress on some of the hills, but they kept at it bravely. The Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe had their own water point, and the first person they saw was race leader Sibanda, who was still well clear of the chasing pack, which now was reduced to 5 runners. Ruth Nemechena was still third as she passed the Vic Falls Safari Lodge water point. Ahead of her, there'd been a big change as Monica Kativu had caught and passed long-time race leader Rabia Falima. Now past the halfway mark, Kativu looked in control of her race. The pace was much quicker in the half-marathon race. Here too, one man was dominating as Kelvin Pangiso sprinted away from the rest, with Wellington Kanyimo and Felix Mashua chasing hard. Gilbert Mutendiro and William Chinyanga were also racing hard, and the end result was difficult to predict at this stage. It certainly looked as if the winning time would be under 65 minutes. With not a runner in sight, and Kosiasi Sibanda looked totally comfortable as he raced along in the marathon. At this stage, it looked like the magic 220 barrier could be broken, a wonderful effort in the heat and at high altitude. A long way back, the chasing group had been reduced to just 4 men as the race distance took its toll. Monica Kativu could not believe that her lead over Rabia Falima had grown so big so soon. Now she was completely alone, with not even a man in sight. Wearing number 26, the leading woman in the Zambezi man competition, Laura O'Donoghue, was taking strain but edging her way to the finish. Everyone else looked exhausted as well, but their strong marathon spirit, plus the wonderful surroundings, kept them plodding along. Kativu could now concentrate totally on her race. She had put quite a few minutes between herself and Falima in just a few kilometres. With a burst of speed, Kelvin Pangiso sprinted onto the field at the Big Falls School to win the half marathon. He had dominated the race to such an extent that his winning margin at the end was an amazing 2.5 minutes. Gilbert Mutendiro cut through the field to grab second spot, with Felix Mashurwa in third place. In the women's competition, Chiedza Chikoro stayed in front the whole way, eventually winning in 87 minutes, 6 minutes ahead of second place Alison Manake, with Rudo Makombi in third position, 2 minutes back. Alfred Moyo won the wheelchair section of the half marathon comfortably. His time was just over 80 minutes. There were large gaps between these men, with Pangiso running brilliantly to break 65 minutes. Chiedza Chikora also won easily in 87 minutes, followed by Manake and Makombi. Second in the wheelchair half marathon was Edmund Mukutia in 83 minutes. The winner of the ladies' wheelchair race, Moline Majoni, came home to warm applause in 2 hours 34 minutes. And how was Nkosiyasi Sibanda?